They would, they would understand what is going on as we go. So today we have a very beautiful topic in front of us. But before we proceed, I would like to introduce myself because I believe not everybody knows me. So my name is Joyce Ezeigbo, and I will be the facilitator for today's meeting that is tagged between two words, the immigrant's burden and breakthrough. So we have a very, very educated and person of high level of education here with us today, which is in the person of Mr. Emmanuel Olawale. And we have a brief biography about Mr. Emmanuel. As many of us that did not get to see this brief biography on the group that was posted by one of our admins, I would like to read it through for us to understand the person that will be speaking to us today. So Mr. Emmanuel Olawale is an attorney and is a trial lawyer. He has a strong track record in civil and personal injury cases, and he has secured over $10 million in verdicts and settlements. He has earned his law degree from Capital University Law School and supports immigrant students through a dedicated scholarship fund. He is a recipient of multiple honors, including Super Lawyers and Top 100 Trial Lawyers. Mr. Emmanuel is also an author and host of the podcast Legal Handle with Emmanuel D-Law Olawale. So I would encourage us that after today's meeting, if you have a need for his professional service, do not hesitate to reach him. I believe the admin should have his information to give to you if you need his professional service. So we welcome you, sir. Thank you for honoring us to lecture us today. I would officially hand over to you, sir. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm also thankful for having me, and I don't see myself as lecturing you today. I see us as having a conversation as a family of immigrants. Thank you again. And as I've been introduced, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Emmanuel Olawale. I, like most of you here, I'm an immigrant. I came to the United States about 27 years ago. I was in my 20s at the time. So I started my immigration journey in New York, where I went to college. Then I completed college in 3 years and moved to Ohio for law school. And I've been an attorney representing immigrant right for 20 years. So what I hope to talk about today has to do with issues that affect immigrants, regardless of their origin, whether they're from Guatemala, Honduras, or Nigeria. So I'm going to be talking about, just as the topic said, the burdens and breakthroughs of immigrants. Because I know I'm sure most of the people that tuned in either are immigrants themselves or they have family who have recently immigrated or have friends
At the back of the
who have recently immigrated. Can everyone mute their mic, please? And I'm going to be sharing some slide. So we are talking about, the topic is, between two worlds, the immigrant burden and breakthrough. What we need to, when everyone move or come to the United States, the first thing everyone has to experience is this. We call it the USA. What it really means is that you start all over. Unless you were born here, even if you come here at the age of 2, you start all over. And what does starting all over do to people? When starting all over, it means that you have to reinvent yourself. You have to start reintroducing yourself. Some people, if they're starting over, has to do with taking on a new identity, taking on a new role, roles that they've never been used to before. Some people who are professionals will be relegated to not being professionals anymore. People with college degrees suddenly become someone whose degree is now recognized. Children have to start all over, new school, new friends, adults, the same thing, new churches, everything is new for you, regardless. Even if you have been coming back and forth and visiting the United States, the moment you decide that I'm going to stay permanently, you are starting all over. And what does starting all over do to people? It has effects on people. It has effects on relationship. It has effects on your mental health. It has effects on everything that concerns you. And one of the major things that everyone suffers from is called adjustment disorder. It's a psychological term because when you just come to the US, you have to adjust. Like I said, you're starting all over. And what are the symptoms of adjustment disorder? Depression, sadness, hopelessness, tearfulness, decreased motivation, sleeplessness. You ever wondered why most people that just arrived from somewhere in the world, like just in Nigeria, where when they just arrived, do you ever wonder why they seem to be unhappy? Do you ever wonder why you that possibly maybe you petitioned for them, you're feeling that they're ungrateful because they are sad all the time, they are not happy. You just brought your husband from Nigeria or your wife from Nigeria. You thought it was just going to be all lovey-dovey, but all of a sudden they're depressed all the time. They're unhappy. And then you get mad. You think that, well, I just brought you out of this hardship. I spent all this money and you're here, you're unhappy. It's because they're going through adjustment disorder. I went through the same thing myself when I just came. If I had the funds to go back to Nigeria, I would have gone back within the first 6 months. And mind you, I came with a green card. But what I expected was not what I met. And I'll tell you why. I was so super, extremely depressed. I experienced all this thing, hopelessness, tearfulness, no motivation, unable to sleep. And when I was coming to the United States, I had this big dream. Like, it's like you're coming to the land of opportunity, which is true. We call it God's promised land. We think everything is flowing with milk and honey. We have this grandiose expectation. But when I arrived, this is what I found. This was my bed for the first 6 months. This corner over here, this is when I come home from work or whatever, this is where I slept for 6 months. And I was missing everything that I ever known, regardless of how long, how young or how old you come here, you're going to miss that. You're going to miss your old friends. You're going to miss your old life. You're going to miss the little details, especially the United States is a country where I describe as you become a part of a lonely crowd. You are going to be among people and you still feel lonely because the connection that you had from where you came from, where we live in a communal society, there's always friends checking in, neighbors and all that, someone to talk to. You miss all that. And in my instance, who would expect that when they come to the United States, they're going to be sleeping on the floor? That was one of the things about starting over. And then when I graduated from sleeping on the floor for 6 months, I rented my own room. This was the room. This this is a bed. That is all this room can contain. And I was sharing a bathroom and kitchen with about a dozen other people. There's nothing to put anywhere. And even looking out the window, it's like on a dead end street. That is even like it's symbolic as to even what the room itself symbolizes. It's like it's a dead end. No one moved to the United States and expect to be sleeping on the floor or to be sleeping in a street with a dead end with this little kind of bed with nothing. So, like I was saying, I was very depressed because I had to start all over. Some of us are still going through that now. And what normally happens is that most of us don't even know that's what we're experiencing. We can't put a handle on it. And it becomes so difficult for the whole family to deal with. Because for those who have been here already, they've already gone through that. Some of them even never recovered. 20, 30 years later, some of those feelings of depression and displacements, they are permanent. So, but what normally happens is that when people come to stay with you, that's why eventually you're going to end up disagreeing. Because what? They are depressed, they're irritable. And unhappy people cannot be grateful. Unhappy people don't even know what's wrong with them. They don't even appreciate themselves. So they can't appreciate everything you're trying to do for them. And you don't recognize that they are going through that. You just feel that these people are so ungrateful, and what normally happens? Fight. You kick them out or they move out. Those are the most two ways that it happens. Or they move out on their own and they stop talking to you. And then what happens? You carry that grief throughout your stay in the United States because it's painful when you think you're trying to save people from poverty, struggle, and they come to the United States and it's as if like you've wasted all your efforts. So you carry that grief. And they themselves too, they will never get to, unless they're people that have a reflection. Some of them will never go back to retrace their steps to come back to apologize. They just keep, and some of them too even never recover from that depression or adjustment disorder. Then what also happens? Loss of identity. What does loss of identity mean? For instance, I never knew I was Black until I moved to the United States. What that means is that when I was in Nigeria, no one identified me as Black. I'm either a Yoruba or Igbo, or I'm a student or non-student, or that's it, or your name. But when you come to the United States, the first thing they will make you realize is that you are Black because everything here is all about race. And then also you lose your status. You find people who are lawyers, doctors, accountants, college graduates. They come to the United States and their degrees are not recognized. That's a loss of professional status. Someone who had been maybe a practicing attorney for 10, 20 years in Nigeria, they come here. They can't even get a job as a legal secretary. Maybe they have to work at Walmart or the grocery store. And what do you think that does to people's psyche? They get depressed. They are unhappy because they've lost their status as a professional. How about the personal losses? Some people will leave, maybe they leave their wife, their husband, their children, their fiancés behind, thinking, oh, I'm going to be back in 2 or 3 years to get married to you. Some of them may never happen. Some of them turn their spouses to immigration widows and widowers with hope that, oh, one day they'll come back. 1 year turns to two, two to five, five to 10. And guess what will also happen? Those who are here will eventually find a way to terminate the marriage and get married to someone else just to get their green card. And then they lose their family in the process. Those are losses that people don't recover from. Those are losses that they're not even quantifiable. That is one of the burdens of immigration. Like I said, some people even will have a change of total identity, change of name, and other things, you know. Some, it's their marital status they will lose. Some is their children they will lose. Some, like I said, they will lose their academic or professional qualifications. In my instance, when I left, I was a recent college graduate in Nigeria. This is me over here. This is me with my friends. This is a picture we took when I was a student at the Polytechnics in Nigeria. I graduated before coming. But when I got to the United States, I had to start all over from someone who is a college graduate to going back to GED. And then from GED, I became a security guard. Do you think that when I was envisioning coming to the United States as a college student, do I think that I'm going to become a store security guard? No. This is an example of from the reality in the USA is that I was a college graduate that became that turned to a security guard. No matter what I did, that's where I fit in at that time. I could apply for a job saying that, oh yeah, I'm a recent graduate or whatever. They're not going to give me that job. Like I said, I had to go back to GED, now working as a security guard. This is what most of us experience. Mine, I was still young and malleable because I just graduated from college. For others, they've been professionals for years. Most of the people I met while I was on the job at that time, they are all much more older than me. Most of them have kids, they've started their lives. I've met doctors, I met lawyers, I met people who are government officials who are also working as security guard. None of them were happy. That is one of the reality of moving to the United States. And then let's talk about how we experience unemployment and underemployment. Unemployment is the ability to secure a job. Underemployment is getting a job that is beneath your qualification. For instance, like the slide before where I was, where this slide where I'm a security guard. This to me at that time is underemployment. I was a communication graduate. I could work as a journalist. I could work in a newsroom. I did that while I was in Nigeria. I interned at the OGBC. But when I came to the US, I couldn't get a job like that. Started off as a security guard. That is underemployment. And then loss of recognition of foreign degrees. Like I said, people with education, their degrees will be worthless. Even sometimes after they get it evaluated by West, they want to apply for college, they still won't accept most of the credits. They can't use it to get a job. And then we have the big elephant in the room, communication barriers. You come to the US, you think you speak English. Yes, you do speak English, but you are speaking English in a different accent. And most people will find it difficult to understand you. You will also find it difficult to understand people. If you say something, you have to repeat it about 3 times. They get frustrated. You get frustrated. And what does that do? Some of those things makes people lose their self-confidence. They go out there, they are anxious to communicate because they are scared of people noticing their accent and they can't hide it. They are scared of people not understanding them. And they go to interviews because of that communication barriers. They don't hire them. They hear you talk, and the next thing they just don't hire you. Sometimes they don't even have to see you. It's just your name on the resume. For instance, when I was looking for a job as a law clerk, I thought because, I've gotten good grades and all that, it was going to be easy for me. I started sending letters out. They were not calling me back. I had to change my name from Olawale. I put an apostrophe in front of the O. It became Olawale. or I removed the L and A, it became Owale, so that they would think that I was Irish. They did call me in for interview after I did that, but they still didn't hire me. The moment they see me, then they see that, oh, wow, we thought we were expecting an Irish guy. This is an African. They still didn't hire me. Most of us go through these things. And what it does is that it frustrates people. It makes you unhappy. And you go home, you take that frustration out on your family. Because that loss, especially for men, loss of employment can mentally kill a man. And what normally happens when people move to the United States is that men find it more difficult to find jobs because men are more picky. Men are pickier than women. Women are more adaptable. A woman will come in today and get a job as a caregiver, cleaning diapers and washing other people's clothes. A man who is from Nigeria who has never had to do that, especially someone who has some level of education, would think that, oh no, I can never do that kind of job. And so they stay unemployed for a longer period of time. They stay depressed for a longer period of time. And like I said, most never even overcome that feelings, that feeling of helplessness, depression, sadness, and relegation to what they never expected. And what that also does is that, like I said, the discrimination is apparent. You walk into a room, they already know who you are. They see your resume, they already know where you're from. It's that, and you can't hide it. You can't escape it. And we find that it depends on the kind of, even some low-level jobs, they still would discriminate against you on the job. They give you all the dirty jobs, and you don't get promotion. You train the people that they will put over you. Why? Because of your race. And then it also leads to the breakdown of the family dynamic, the breakdown of the family structure. You come from a culture where there's hierarchy. The man is the head of the family, the wife, the assistant, then the children. Then when you come to the United States, all that is flipped upside down. A man that has never had to clean a plate now has to do that. A man that has never had to be unemployed is now unemployed. The wife is working because the wife didn't care whether they're cleaning diapers or cleaning feces. The man cares. So what now happens? There's the balance of power will shift. The woman is now working, possibly making more money than the man. The man becomes resentful. The woman too. Now, and what money does is that money gives you voice. Now the woman has a voice. The man is trying to assert his dominance. I'm the head of the family. The woman is saying, yeah, you're the head. I'm the neck. I can turn it anyhow. I'm the one paying bills here. Or we're contributing to the upkeep of the family. So I'm going to work, you're going to work. I can't come home and still cook for you. What the woman is saying is rational. What the man is hearing is different. That's because you just don't reprogram people within 2, 3, 4, 5 years. They've grown up in an environment where they didn't have to do that. And with people not knowing that this is what they're going through, guess what happens? Marriages break down. That's why we have a lot of immigrant marriages. Either they're unhappy or they eventually collapse. Some of the problem that will collapse most marriages, even 15, 20 years later, started from when they first immigrated to the United States. And when those issues are not taken care of, they balloon into something that will now tear the marriage apart. And then we're not even talking about documentation. It's even worse for people who came in without a green card. And they have to start from trying to get papers. Husband and wife will have to make some kind of negotiations that they would never imagine that they will make. And most of those negotiations will break up the family forever, as all of them will have to enter into some kind of conventional union, get married to other people, just to be able to live their life in the United States. And then what happens with the children? The children, because children are very adaptable, children can easily adapt into a new environment. They will take on, even if they've been even up to like the age of 15, 16, even up to 20. People can still adapt. They adapt the culture, they change their accent. And what knowledge does is that it gives you power. Now they are more powerful than their parents. They become the parents' cultural translator. When they go to the store, when they go to the doctors, they are the one that are now interpreting for the parent. The parents are speaking English, but the doctor is not understanding. They need their son, their daughter, who is younger than them, to interpret for them. So now your children now becomes a kind of your own leader. And if you are not careful, if you're still trying to assert dominance on them, thinking that you know better than them, you will miss it. Because most of these kids, with the age of internet and artificial intelligence, they probably know more than you. So you have to adapt to that and recognize that these are no longer kids that will tell, sit down there or do this or do that. And apart from that, too, some of these kids too will also notice how maybe their friends, the culture here, how they talk to their parents. And for you to maintain the structure that you want, it is very difficult. There have to be some balance, some give and take. It cannot be a strict way because I said so. And what normally happens is that for parents who are rigid, they eventually lose those kids. Because those kids now see what you see as discipline as abuse. And then when they become of age, you lose them. And then let's talk about solutions. You just can't talk about the problems alone. One of the solutions is what we're doing here right now, which is talking about the problem. When you recognize what the problem is, you can solve, then you're halfway through solving it. Because now, for some of us that are going through this now, that you don't even know that's what you're going through, you can adjust. You can understand the pain of someone who just came and what they're experiencing. And even yourself, that what you're experiencing that you don't know, that you can't put a handle on. And some of us may even have to go back to apologize for the people that gave us a place to stay when we came, that we are fought with, that we thought that they were wicked, that we thought that they didn't get us. Both of you are going through mental challenges caused by coming to the United States that you didn't recognize. So one of the solutions is recognizing the problem. And two, to join a support community. Being a member of a church, a mosque, or a cultural group does help because it relieves that isolation. It gives you a sense of identity. It gives you a sense of community. You don't feel like, okay, well, you've lost, because moving, like I said, you lose a lot. But having a supportive community in the US it doesn't erase it, but it helps. And, but with this kind of communities, you also have to respect people's vulnerabilities. When people come to you to tell you what they're going through, keep it confidential. Don't turn people's problems into prayer requests so that you use it to gossip. Oh, let us pray for this person. They're going through this right now. No. If they don't ask you to pray for them or to mention their names in prayer forums, don't use opportunity of prayers to gossip about people's private issues. Another solution is therapy. Most of us are resistant to therapy. But I can tell you from a first-hand experience that therapy helps. Therapy, finding a therapist that will understand what you are going through will help you to be able to go through that process and even recover. And the reason why I said most people don't recover from it is because Most people also didn't even know what they're going through, and they never seek a solution to it. You just live with in, day out, morning till night, not knowing what you're going through. You have some streak of happiness, then going back to the depression. So therapy does help. And then another thing that does help is having hobbies. Most immigrants that I know don't have hobbies. All they know is work, work, work. Even after achieving what they've been striving for, they still don't stop. Because you carry on this burden of other people relying on you. You have to pay the black tax. You have to send money home to people. You have to take on other people's burden. You feel that it is your obligation, so you don't do anything for yourself, apart from maybe going to some parties. If we open the floor now to ask people what are your hobbies, what people will be saying, going to church, going to parties, those are not hobbies. Find a hobby, games to play, exercise, travel, things that are real fun. Those things can help. And if you need to reach me or to know more about my own story and journey, I have a book that detailed my experiences. It's called The Flavor of Favor: Quest for the American Dream, a memoir. It is available on Amazon. And the 10th year edition just got released. And it is both in hardcover and paperback. It has 10-year updates because I wrote this book 10 years ago. Every chapter has an update as what I've done since then. And before the end of the year, a new book is going to be coming out titled Manifestation. I hope we still get to be connecting since then. And if you need to connect with me, my phone number is on the screen. It's 8889-WIN-WIN. And I can be reached on Instagram at Emmanuel Olawale _Esquire. I'm also available on Facebook. Just search for Emmanuel Olawale. I hope I've been able to uh, address some of these issues that we as immigrants are facing, but we don't get to talk about. And I'm now going to leave the floor open to questions. I thank you for listening, and I thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olawale. Thank you for this very educative session. So like you said, if we have questions, we want to know more, we can ask him. Like, there was something he talked about that I really gained from. And I'm beginning to find answers to the question I was asking, because recently last year, I I was able to accommodate somebody with me, and I was just asking myself throughout, like, what is going on? Because she was always sad. Like, I was not push like I was asking myself question, why is she always like this? Did I do something wrong? I was like under pressure to I think I assisted her to get a job. After the job, I was still under pressure. Like, should I do more? What should I give? What would make her happy? So this just gave me explanation at the end of the day. She left and we don't even talk. So this yeah, this is giving me clarity on some issues. I speak to people and I say most of us Nigerians here, we are traumatized. A lot of us are traumatized because there are things and reactions that the way we respond, it tells of our trauma. So what you just said gave me a lot of answers to the question I've been asking. This lady, she was my chief bridesmaid. in my wedding. She did so much. We've been talking, and all of a sudden, when she came, I was under pressure. I was asking myself, what can I do to make her happy? What is the next? She's got a job. I was even feeling like the money they pay her is not enough. What can I do? So I was so much under pressure. I was so, but at the end of the day, it didn't end well and I didn't like it. But what you have said today is giving me a lot of answers. So I know that a lot of us here, we have questions. So do not hesitate. As you have said, ask your questions because we have few minutes until this meeting ends. Please do go ahead and ask your question by writing or, I mean, raising your hands to talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I hope that now that you know what the issue is, if she's still reachable, reach out to her. She herself, she doesn't know what she's going through. And now that we recognize it, this is how we can break that chain.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Auntie Joy. Auntie Joyce, can you hear me?
I hear you.
I call you Auntie Joyce. That's who you are, though. Okay, I want to first of all thank you for pioneering this forum. I want to thank you for anchoring this program today. The Lord will richly bless you. Okay, my first question is this phone number that is pasted here now. I just want to double check this phone number. I'm sure it's correct. It's 1-800-9946-946. I hope that is correct, sir.
It's not 800, it's 888.
188. Okay, 188. Let me quickly correct this one.
888. 888.
1888.
Okay.
Okay. Some of us might be challenged in this. How we'll be having immigration challenge, and is it possible to hire you as an attorney as soon as this very week we just entered today now? What's the possibility of that?
I'm open for business, that's yes. If anyone needs legal help, especially immigration, they can represent client regardless of where they are in the United States. Just call that number, and I will do charge for consultation, and we will take care of your case. And in my office, we don't lose.
Amen. Okay, about how much are we expected to pay as a consultation fee before the retainer agreement?
Yes.
So how much is the
The consultation fee is $200.
$200.
$200. And what we do is if it's a case that we're going to take and that we can help you, that $200 will be deducted from the eventual attorney's fee. If it is not a case that we can go over, because sometimes some people don't really have a case, but at least that $200 will save you from wasting thousands chasing after shadows.
All right, thank you. Those are the two questions I have.
Thank you.
Okay, Attorney Emmanuel, I think there is another question online. It says, how can immigrants stay connected to their culture while adapting to American life?
That is thank you. That's a very good question. You have to be intentional about that. That's why I said finding a cultural community. It could be a church. It could be a cultural organization. It could be some people through music, some people through YouTube. And the world is smaller these days. It's just that virtual connection is what a lot of people are making. Social media, but for a real community that is not virtual, you have to be intentional. You have to, when I'm also guilty of this initially. When some people, after you come to the United States, the first thing that they do is that, oh no, I'm trying to avoid other Nigerians. Oh, and then they start running, because of that trauma that everyone experiences that makes you, disagree with the people that first got you in, or that maybe someone has hurt you, you took someone in and they misbehaved. So we run away from each other because we are all repelled by trauma. But knowing this, like I said, you just have to be intentional. Find like a Nigerian community, either a church, mosque, cultural group, social clubs, or even going to Nigerian parties. Those are the ways to bridge that to connection. Or when you see another immigrants or Nigerians, be intentional. Uh, be intentional to connect with them. Thank you.
Please, can we all mute our phones if we don't want to ask questions or we are not ready to ask questions? Thank you. So, yeah, so we have another question. Are you done with the answer, sir?
Yes.
Okay, so there is another question that says, if someone is already here but undocumented, what practical options do they have to be legal?
That's a complicated question that cannot be answered with just one size fits all. Yes. It depends on how they came in the first place. It depends on their relationships. It depends on what kind of visa they came in with. So and it depends on, yeah, all that is what will decide, how they can get legalized. For instance, for someone that came through the border without a visa, if they get married to an American citizen, they still will not be able to change their status because they're deemed to be inadmissible. For people who came in with a visa, who have overstayed, they could adjust status if they have immediate relatives that could file for them. Maybe they are parents of a U.S. citizen, they can get a green card. If they are children of U.S. citizens under the age of 21, they can get a green card. If they got married to an American citizen, they can get a green card. So it's a complex question that might require its own session. So
Okay,
yes.
thank you, sir. And the next question states that how do you balance the burdens and breakthroughs of your own immigrant journey?
Mine, I would say, if you see the title of my book, it's called The Flavor of Favor. I would say is the favor of God. But I can't also balance is an illusion. I can't say I balance it very well because some of the things I'm talking about also affected me. For instance, we can only do our best. You can't, there's no way you can control every dynamic. For instance, now, when my wife came to the US, she also experienced that change. Even though she came from the UK, she's already experienced that there. When she came to the US, yes, she was experiencing it too. And guess how we started our marriage? A week to the date after we got married, they fired me on the job. Yes, I just, she was in UK, I was here. I was in my final year of law school. I went there to get married to her. Came back a week to the date. I got to my work. I, I saw that they wanted to talk to me. I called the HR person. It was on a Saturday. The HR person told me that, oh, they've decided to let me go. I'm like, was it something I did or didn't do? It was like, no. We just thought eventually you're not going to fit. That's what I'm talking about, discrimination. And I'm like, yeah, but I just got married. They're like, yeah, well, that's why we didn't call you on your honeymoon. I'm like, I didn't have any honeymoon. I'm back on the job. Bottom line, they let me go. I just have a brand new wife coming to the UK. I'm in my final year of law school. I'm still a kid myself with a driver's license. She joins me here. She's unhappy. I'm unhappy. She's depressed. I'm depressed, and eventually, after going through getting to zero, getting food from the church pantry, being extremely, it was a very, very tough period, a situation where I say engagement ring became wedding ring, and then wedding ring became suffer ring.
Hmm.
Eventually, I did get a job within a year after I became a lawyer. Things changed. We bought our house. Later on, she went to school. She got her master's. I started my business. Everything was doing well. But guess what? We're currently going through a divorce. Some of those issues from the beginning were never resolved. If you talk to her now about some of my flaws, it will be like, oh, when I first came, you are yelling at me, you did this, you did that. Because women never forget. But what I'm trying to say is that my story is not perfect. So balance is an illusion. But for God's favor, at least I've done very well professionally. And I have accomplished some things, but it is not perfect. So everyone will have to walk their own journey. But if I knew what I know now, it probably would have been different, but I have to learn from experience. That's one of the reasons I started writing and talking about these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was enlightening. Thank you so much. So there is another question here that says, many of us face pressure from family and friends back home who expect us to provide or solve problems as soon as we arrive in the US. How do you personally balance those expectations with the reality of starting fresh here?
When I first came, I had my priorities then. I knew that my only priority was my mom and at that time my younger brother. They were, everyone else. It's not being selfish because what most immigrants do is that they the first few dollars that they make when they come to the US, they are seeds that needed to be planted. They squander it trying to lift others up. I was a student working 2 or 3 jobs to stay afloat and also going to college full time. I'm always living from paycheck to paycheck. When rent is due is always a struggle. So what I did is that I didn't send money to any friends who ask. And what happened is that I lost them as friends. But it was a trade-off. But as 10, 15 years later, when they all now started getting visas to the UK, we eventually became friends again because now they realize why I wasn't able to help them back then. So that's a conscious decision that you have to make, that when you know that you're struggling here, you can help others when you yourself, when you haven't set your own foundation. And you can play God, because when we come here, we think that, oh yeah, we have to play God in people's lives. And no matter what you send, it's not going to solve everyone's problem. And when you have now planted your seed and your seed have grown to a point where you can afford to give, you still have to have limits. Because one thing I've known about life is that takers have no limits. Givers
Hmm.
are the ones that have to set boundaries.
Hmm. Thank you, sir.
You're
So
welcome.
the question before that one says that accent training is a huge thing. Can you give insight on how to make a better transition, especially in a professional setting?
That's a very good question. What most of us don't do or don't even know is that there are experts online that give accent reduction classes. Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I would say one of the most successful immigrants currently alive in the United States, came from Austria with a very heavy accent. He ended up becoming one of the major movie stars, became the governor of the largest state in the US. he took accent reduction classes so that he could be able to communicate. I did the same.
Mm.
I did the same. I took accent reduction classes. It changed some of my pronunciation. When I go to court, when I run for office, when I'm talking anywhere, they can understand me. So those are some of the things that we don't talk about, and those are some of the things we don't invest in. Some of us will just be saying, "Oh, I speak English. What do they mean they can't understand me?" No. Just imagine when you're in Nigeria and let's say Togolese or whatever, they speak English or a language. Don't you laugh at them? Even within Nigeria, you see an Igbo person speaking Yoruba in a funny way. You laugh at them. You see an Hausa man speaking, we'll even laugh at even the different ethnic accent. Then you now come here and then the native, I mean the Americans who are already here complain that they don't understand you and you're getting mad. The solution is that find an accent reduction class. Some of them can be done online. Some of them you don't have to go in person. When I did mine years ago, and I first took one when I immediately became an attorney, years after when I was running for judge, I decided, you know what, I need an upgrade. I hired someone to help me with it. So that's a solution. Go online, and some of them if you Google it, you'll find someone in your neighborhood. It don't even have to be in your neighborhood. Like I said, it can be done virtually, and that will really help professionally.
Yes, sir. So thank you so much. We have far gone in this meeting today. So, but we have two more questions. And I would like for us to, for you to give us insight on the last question, because the one before the last one is something I want you to round up with. So the second to the last question is, please give us the resources for the accent training. They should
Um,
please give us the resources for the accent training.
okay, I don't have it with me right now, but I'm gonna go back into my archive. I've even see if I can find my own um, trainer and recommend him.
All
I,
right, thank
I will send it to the moderator.
all right, thank you, sir. So the last one is, it says that when can we reach you? That is, what's your operational hours?
Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Eastern Standard Time.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate having you today. So, like I said, a lot of us who, wait, I'm sorry. I think a question just came in. Give me 1 second. Do you have any contact to the accent reduction class? He said he's gonna get through to the admin concerning the accent reduction class. That's what the person is asking. So, we have come to the close of the meeting today. Because we are Nigerians, doesn't mean that we should stay longer than 1 hour. So we thank you so much. We really appreciate you for this lesson today, or will I call it, what should I call it? You have educated us so much today. Like I said, I had a personal experience that really bothered me. And what you said from the beginning helped me a lot to answer those questions I was asking myself. So, God bless you for this session today. And a lot of us who have questions that need to ask him, he has his operational hours, and he has stated that you can call him. I guess the admin will give us the numbers to reach him directly, so we can call him for his professional service after today. So I would give room if there is any one person, because I can see someone is, going off the mute. If there is one more person that want to ask a question directly to him, you can go ahead. All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for today. And to everyone who is present here today, thank you for joining. This community is a community that brings up everybody. We don't rise alone. We rise as we raise others too. Thank you for joining today. And like I said, if you have questions to and ask. This is a serious topic. Our emotions matter. It tells how we handle things, how we move in life, how we engage with other people. Like I said earlier on, a lot of Nigerians are traumatized. You may not know it. You may be smiling. You may think that, okay, you're fine until something happens. So we might need a service. Some of us need the service. So we should go ahead and call him professionally to ask for a service. Thank you so much for joining today, and do have a blessed day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you, sir.